So I don't know about you, but I love when a comedic performance gets an Oscar nomination. It doesn't happen too often, maybe once every few years, but when it happens, I am overjoyed, and throughout the decades, we have had some amazing Oscar nominations for comedic work. Now in this video, I'm not going to talk about comedy performances that won, so you won't see Kevin Kline for A Fish Called Wanda or Diane Keaton for Annie Hall. This video is specifically about comedy performances that were only nominated at the Academy Awards. Are you ready? Let's get started with number 10, Best Actress, Shirley MacLaine, The Apartment.
What did you do to your hair?
It was making me nervous, so I chopped it off. Big mistake, huh?
No, I sort of like it.
You got a Lulu.
So I love that Billy Wilder's 1960 masterpiece of a comedy, The Apartment, did so well at the Oscars. It won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay. Like, you really don't see comedies win Best Picture in the nearly 100 years of the Academy Awards, but The Apartment pulled it off in the early 1960s, and this movie has such a beautiful performance by Shirley MacLaine. She is funny, she is witty, she plays off Jack Lemmon so well in that film. There is this infectious sweetness about her all throughout the narrative. Shirley MacLaine was nominated for lots of Oscars throughout the years. She finally won in 1984 for Terms of Endearment, but her nomination for The Apartment is an all-timer. Number 9, Best Supporting Actor, Albert Brooks, Broadcast News.
120 people were reported injured, at least 22 people dead.
Commercial?
I wish I were one of them.
I love Albert Brooks. I love him as an actor in both comedy and drama. I love him as a writer-director. Defending Your Life from 1991 is one of my 10 favorite movies of all time, and it always fills my heart with joy when I remember he has one Oscar nomination in Supporting Actor for 1987's Broadcast News. He is so charming in that, in kind of a love triangle with Brooks, Holly Hunter, and William Hurt. All three got Oscar nominations for this wonderful film, and Brooks is sensational in it. He's got that one memorable, hilarious scene when he anchors a news broadcast and breaks out in a sweat. It's just a great movie, a great performance. I'm so happy the Academy recognized Albert Brooks. Number 8, Best Actor, Dustin Hoffman, Tootsie.
Now, Alan's always Alan, Tom is always Tom, and John's always John. I have a name, too. It's Dorothy, capital D-O-R-O-T-H-Y. Dorothy.
So this was a very competitive year in Best Actor at the Oscars. He was up against Paul Newman for The Verdict, and the eventual winner, Ben Kingsley, for Gandhi. Dustin Hoffman had just won Best Actor 3 years before for Kramer vs. Kramer, so I don't think he had much of a shot in winning for Tootsie, but that would have been an amazing victory, because Dustin Hoffman in that Sidney Pollack comedy from 1982 is so funny, is exquisite, playing an actor who can't get work, and so he impersonates a woman and gets on a soap opera. I love his chemistry with Jessica Lange, who won the Oscar that night for Tootsie in Best Supporting Actress. He also works really well with Terry Garr, who got a Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination. This movie is just an abundance of riches, and at the center of it is that marvelous three-dimensional performance from Dustin Hoffman. Number 7, Best Supporting Actress, Madeline Kahn, Blazing Saddles.
Won't you excuse me for a moment while I slip into something a little bit more comfortable?
Bitte, baby.
Now this is one of the truly inspired acting Oscar nominations of the 1970s. It makes sense that Madeline Kahn was nominated in this category the year before for Paper Moon. She's funny in that movie, but her performance is a little bit more nestled in reality, whereas in Blazing Saddles, this is a full-on slapstick performance, the kind of which almost never gets recognized at the Oscars. Making this even more impressive is that Blazing Saddles opened in February of 1974. Like, it came out at the very beginning of the year. Madeline Kahn is in Young Frankenstein at the very end of 1974. They could have nominated her for that movie, but instead they nominate her for Blazing Saddles, and it's just fantastic. Her musical number is so silly and funny. Every line reading, every gesture, every expression of Madeline Kahn in Blazing Saddles is so hilarious. This is easily a performance that could have gone overlooked from awards voters, that the Academy gave her a nomination in Best Supporting Actress for Blazing Saddles is just too cool. Number 6, Best Actor, Peter Sellers, Dr. Strangelove.
The women will have to be selected for their sexual characteristics, which will have to be of a highly stimulating nature.
How inspired is this Oscar nomination for Peter Sellers, playing 3 different people in Stanley Kubrick's 1964 comedy? He gets to show his stuff in that movie. He gets to try things. He gets to act, for the most part, like a real living person. He also gets to go completely overboard in many scenes of zany humor. This is right around the time Peter Sellers got very popular in those first 2 Pink Panther movies, and the Academy just had to recognize his genius. They love Dr. Strangelove. They nominated it in a bunch of categories like Best Picture and Best Director, and they clearly love Peter Sellers in it. Number 5, Best Supporting Actress, Melissa McCarthy, Bridesmaids.
What did we eat? The sink's a goner! What are you doing? It's coming out of me like lava!
Now, this is my favorite Oscar nomination for a comedic performance of the 21st century. It's the only one on this top 10 list, even though there have been others, many of which I enjoy and admire, but there's something about this nomination for McCarthy in Bridesmaids. This is one of the most awesome things the Academy has done in the last 20 years. They didn't have to recognize this performance, but they did. They recognized the skill, the craft, the originality of Melissa McCarthy as this character. That was a comedic performance that only comes around once in a blue moon. From her inspired introductory scene, to her moments on the plane, to her shitting in a sink, to her final scene in the movie, McCarthy is giving this one her all. She is tears in your eyes funny in this amazing comedy from 2011. I'm so happy it got a screenplay nomination, and I am thrilled McCarthy got an acting nomination. Number 4, Best Actor, Tom Hanks, Big.
There's a million robots that turn into something. And this is a building that turned into a robot. What's fun about playing with a building? That's not any fun.
When we think of Tom Hanks at the Oscars, we typically think about his dramatic performances. We think about his back-to-back wins for Philadelphia and Forrest Gump. We think about Saving Private Ryan and Castaway. But if you go back to the 1980s, you'll find Tom Hanks' first Oscar nomination for Penny Marshall's Big from 1988, playing a boy who wakes up in a grown man's body and all the turmoil and hilarity that follows. This role was perfect for Tom Hanks in a decade where he was mostly making comedies. Not all of them soar, not all of them are worth rewatching, but Big is fantastic. It is so funny. There's a lot of great physical comedy for Hanks. It's a very moving performance. He has amazing chemistry with Elizabeth Perkins. It's just a wonderful movie. I'm so happy Tom Hanks got this comedic performance recognized at the Oscars. Number 3, Best Supporting Actress, Joan Cusack, In and Out.
Was there, any other time you might have told me this?
I simply adore this actress, and it makes me so happy when I remember she has not 1, but 2 Oscar nominations. And both are for comedic performances. The first one is 1988's Working Girl. She's very funny in that. But the one I really love is her nomination for 1997's In and Out, where she's about to get married to a man who was just outed on national television when one of his students at the Oscars says that he's gay. The arc of her character is so well done as she slowly starts to unravel, especially into the second half. She has some very funny moments in this, very funny line readings. And honestly, the Academy could have ignored her. There were so many wonderful supporting actress performances in 1997, like especially Sigourney Weaver in The Ice Storm, also starring Kevin Kline. That Joan Cusack broke into the Oscars for this inspired, broad, comedic performance is just spectacular. Number 2, Best Actress, Goldie Hawn, Private Benjamin.
I can't sleep in a room with 20 strangers.
Oh, dear.
And, I mean, look at this place. The Army couldn't afford drapes. I mean, I'll be up at the crack of dawn here.
So at the end of the day, this turns out to be my favorite acting Oscar nomination for a woman in a comedic performance. I have always loved Goldie Hawn going back to when I first watched House Sitter and Death Becomes Her in the same summer. I was 7, and I just went nuts for this actress. As I got older, I went back and looked at all her other films. She, of course, won an Oscar for a comedic performance in 1969's Cactus Flower, but I really dig that nomination she got for 1980's Private Benjamin. She plays this spoiled, sheltered, high society woman who joins the United States Army and soon discovers her life is turned upside down. It's a very funny premise, a fantastic character for Goldie Hawn to play. I love her back and forth with Eileen Brennan, who also got an Oscar nomination in Supporting Actress. If you just want to kick back, relax, and watch a great comedy, you can't do much better than Private Benjamin. This is essential viewing for Goldie Hawn fans. What an inspired Oscar nomination for Best Actress. Now, before I get to my number 1 choice, a few runners-up. Best Supporting Actor, Gene Wilder, The Producers. This was Wilder's only acting Oscar nomination, and it's a great one. He is so manic and memorable in that Mel Brooks movie. Best Supporting Actress, Abigail Breslin, Little Miss Sunshine. You don't see kids nominated at the Oscars very often. You certainly don't see it very much for a comedic performance. But you know what? Breslin could not be denied for her amazing comedic turn in that film. Best Supporting Actress, Jean Hagen, Singin' in the Rain. The Academy didn't really go for this movie, even though Singin' in the Rain has turned out to be one of the landmark musicals of all time. Thankfully, they did recognize the brilliant comedic performance from Hagen. I mean, how could that be ignored? Best Supporting Actress, Leslie Ann Warren, Victor Victoria. I have always loved the work of Leslie Ann Warren. I'm a huge Clue fan. I bumped into Warren one time at a gym and told her Clue is one of my favorite movies of all time. Probably her best performance in the movies is in Victor Victoria, and I'm so happy she got an Oscar nomination for it. And Best Actress, Katharine Hepburn, The Philadelphia Story. James Stewart won the Oscar and Best Actor for The Philadelphia Story. Hepburn was only nominated for this one, but talk about an inspired comedic performance that basically saved Hepburn's career as a film actress. And now that takes me to my number 1 choice. What is my favorite Oscar nomination for a comedic performance? We started this list with a Billy Wilder movie. We're ending it with another one. My number 1 choice is Best Actor, Jack Lemmon, Some Like It Hot.
I'll tell him the truth when the time comes.
Like when?
Like right after the ceremony.
Oh.
Then we get a quick annulment, he makes a nice settlement on me, and I keep getting those alimony checks every month.
To be honest, for a long time, I was not aware this performance got an Oscar nomination in Best Actor. Some Like It Hot, starring Jack Lemmon, Tony Curtis, and Marilyn Monroe, and directed by the great Billy Wilder, is one of the best comedies ever made. It is brilliant. It is precise. It is a laugh-a-minute riot. And yet, you wouldn't assume necessarily it got any Oscar nominations. You might assume the Academy passed this one up, but you would be wrong. It got into 6 categories, including Best Director. It won Best Costume Design, Black and Whites, and Jack Lemmon got a Best Actor Oscar nomination. I mean, come on. After witnessing a mob hit, he enters an all-female band impersonating a woman to protect his life alongside Tony Curtis, and just immediately the hilarity ensues. There's just one amazing comedic bit after another, culminating in that all-timer final scene. Jack Lemmon is on another level in Some Like It Hot, and it is my number 1 choice for the best comedic performance to get an Oscar nomination. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below, what do you think of my picks for these comedic acting Oscar nominations? Is there anyone I left off the list? We'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.